Hello. We come with bad news. We recorded a long video about Donald Trump's downfall and his flaws, and the video cut out, so we replaced it with the logo. We're going to put as much video as we have into it, but the audio will run.
Yeah. We're going to put this at the beginning probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense to explain to you at the end.
So we're sorry about that, guys. A little technical difficulty, but please enjoy the video, watch it. The audio is still good.
Yeah, not much of our beautiful faces this time, so we apologize.
All right, but enjoy the video, guys. We'll catch you later.
Peace.
What is up, Donald Trump? We are back with Down in the Middle podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nomal.
And we are talking to you, Donald Trump. We're talking about why Donald Trump should not run in 2024. Mm-hmm. I do not think he should run 2024.
I don't think he should run either.
And I'm a conservative. Nomal's a conservative. Obviously, we come down the middle. We try to look at it both sides and be impartial. But I don't think that I don't like a lot of things about Donald Trump. I think that would be horrible if he ran in 2024.
Yeah, I agree. And also, just a side note, I feel like you're always throwing shit in half the podcast.
I leave my pen on the table.
You leave like a bottle of pen or glasses or something. He's always throwing something.
It's got to look professional. I leave my pen on here, and then I see it, and I'm just like, all right, get this thing out of here.
But yeah, going on to Donald Trump. So we do have our own opinions of Donald Trump. And this whole video is based on what we think about Donald Trump's ratings. We're going to talk about ratings. What's going on right now, and then also moving forward if we think he should run or not. And then, obviously, you said just now, we don't think he should run at all.
Yeah, now, my take on Donald Trump. This is what I think. I think that policy-wise, he was an amazing president. I think, obviously, I'm a conservative. I value these conservative policies he put into place. I think he was great with policy. It was always America first. He did what he said he was going to do, and it made the average American's life a little bit better. Things were cheaper. You felt more secure, and things were not like the way they are now. But also, on the flip side of that, there was a great divide that was created and was just assimilated like crazy with his administration. People were separated a lot, and that is the downfall of him. His rhetoric and kind of his inconsideration, these things that made him... Because we talk about how when you're a president, you need to have good policies, but you also need to be a good leader. Yeah, and they actually really do go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
One is not more important. Yeah. And as much as I love his policies almost across the board, I think he was a horrible leader, and I don't think that's going to change. Yeah,
and we'll get into both of those things more towards the end of the podcast, because we're gonna wrap around the bow on top and stuff like that. But so it's like how you said off camera, it's how you're doing versus how you're feeling, and how you're doing we attribute to like what he was doing for the country and external affairs, so that would be like foreign policy and stuff like that. And I do agree, he did great in terms of the policies he did make or try to get through, but how you're feeling, and as a citizen within the nation, that divisiveness really kind of split us apart. And there was no like love thy neighbor type of atmosphere that we so that was a big part. That's like 50-50, honestly,
Yeah, and like that whole it can mean so many different things, but it always splits conservative liberal, kind of how you doing versus how you feeling. And the way that I usually look at it is like how you doing means like basically like the economy, because how you're doing is like where your life is, right. Economically, that's a big thing, and then how you're feeling is on a social basis.
Right.
So society versus the economy, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see how that gets split conservatively and liberally, because you see like COVID and all these things that we respond to. Conservatives usually say economy first.
Right.
Liberals always say feelings first. And Donald Trump was big on how you doing. How you feeling kind of got pushed to the side.
Yeah. And I want to point out that I believe personally that both are equally important.
Yeah. I would say so too, and that just feeds into the idea like leadership is not about just the ability to accomplish the mission. Like leadership is the ability to accomplish the mission, taking into account all the factors and the people you lead.
Exactly.
It's a multi-dimensional game. No one should ever think that the president of the United States has an easy job, and he's got to be the best of the best, and that's why we have Joe Biden now. All right, so let's get into our actual.
Yeah. So we're gonna probably start off with like ratings first.
Yeah, we can do ratings. Yep.
So just as a general, so unfortunately I don't have the place where these stats are coming from. So that's unfortunate.
Is it approval?
So we'll get into it. So right now,
because usually that's like the Gallup poll. The Gallup poll is the big one.
So I have the Gallup poll.
Oh, it's a different one.
But this is a different one. Yeah. So this was done at I'm not sure if it was a research institute or a university. I definitely skimmed over it. I forgot to write it down. But basically, this article is talking about Joe Biden and Trump, and it was weird when I brought up to you that they were like still recording Trump's approval ratings after his presidency, so it was a little weird. And then comparing it to Joe Biden's also current approval ratings as well. And mind you, hey, if we're sweating on camera, it is filthy hot in here.
My garage is
ridiculously hot in here.
Yeah.
So don't mind us.
It's not the heat of the content.
No, not at all.
Oh, we're talking bad about Trump. My conservative friends. Oh no,
that guy's knocking out the garage door and everything. But yeah, so this article went into some interesting stats actually. So first I'll start with Joe Biden real quick, just to get out the way. Joe Biden's approval rating amongst Republicans went up. It was around like 8 to 9%. From the beginning of January to now, but the independents dropped by like around 15%.
Big
for approval for Joe Biden. So then now Trump's approval rate went down by a good amount for Republicans. It went down to like around 34%.
It was at 34. It was at 34 January 2021.
Oh, okay.
So if it went lower than that, then
I think it went lower. Yeah.
Which is so weird that they're still taking his approval.
Yeah, which is weird.
Republicans.
Because how are you really like? What facts are you taking into place?
And I mean, it just goes to show he has taken over the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Like he has a complete control over a lot of members of the Republican Party, and I mean, we have to kind of look at that. And one thing that I was talking to you about is that you don't need Donald Trump to have Donald Trump's policies. You can have someone who has better rhetoric, who has better leadership, and still have those great policies. And it's like people in the Republican Party, we talk about like waking up on the left side. Like you have to wake up and look at the stats. Well, people on the right, you have to wake up and look at the fact that there was a lot of division, and it might be better off if you have someone with those policies that isn't that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely want to touch up on that because we'll get into it, the whole divisiveness, but just to comment on that. I just want to bring up the divisiveness within the party, which is one layer to it, and then divisiveness, as we just said, within the citizens. So those two different things, and that will just really have a huge effect on 2024 and how people are going to vote.
Yeah.
And then do you want to go into then Ron DeSantis? Yeah.
So I mean, and we don't really want to talk too much about. We'll do a whole video about 2024. I have people from the left and the right who I want to see run. Kamala Harris is not one of them. But she's going to.
Did she say she should rerun?
Oh, she's definitely going to run.
She is. She is. Yeah.
But DeSantis is kind of he's like the Trump who's not Trump. He's a big Trump supporter, and they have a good relationship. He has a lot of those same policies, but then he has that political correctness that we talk about a lot. And one thing that... And DeSantis, in a recent poll that was done between Democrats and Republicans, it was at a conservative summit, and they say it was done at... Just last
in Denver, Western Conservative Summit in Denver.
Yeah, it was like 2 days ago.
This past weekend.
Yeah, so DeSantis' approval was 74, Trump's was 73. Then it dropped pretty hard. Cruz was 42, Tim Scott was 33 or something.
I think Cruz was like 38. I think. Actually.
Oh, was it lower? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I mean, pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
DeSantis and Trump.
Yeah.
And at the RNC, which is the big Republican National Convention, 52% of the Republicans there. Obviously, the second poll means more because the first one is all Republicans. But 52% said they wanted Trump to run again. Then 24 said they wanted DeSantis. So
really?
these are your two big. It was a huge difference. And now,
big difference.
like your stats on how Republican opinion has decreased, it's the same thing because the RNC was in March, I think. Now this is in June. So you see the difference how the Republicans are kind of shifting, and that's a good thing.
That's interesting. Yeah. And then bring up the Gallup poll.
Yeah.
So Trump's approval rating dropped by 10 points in the Gallup poll. And then so the new numbers which show Trump's approval at 39% and disapproval at 57% is one of the largest dips in a single month period for President in Gallup's tracking. So that was in May.
Yeah.
So you could see that Trump's support is declining through Republicans and obviously through Democrats. I mean, you said like 3%.
Yeah, I have all the stats for year by year.
Which I'm going to speak for you as well. Which we're in support of.
Yeah.
I don't want him to run, which we'll get to as well. But we'll get into divisiveness first. But if you want to go back to more into your stats and polls.
Yeah. So let me just run through some stats about. This is the Gallup approval.
Right.
These are the statistics year. These are official statistics year by year on what Republican and Democrat independent voters say in terms of how well they approve the president. Now, one thing that's important with Trump was he came in and he wasn't a politician, so there was immediately they were against him on the left side.
Yeah.
Very quickly, like we speak about, we say that he was he was talking about draining the swamp, making the elites fall and all this stuff. So they really wanted to get Donald Trump out before he was even in. And this is why this is why you had this selective bias in the media, and you had all the Google shifting the 2 million votes and all these different things. And that obviously gets reflected in the numbers. Because he said these things that he was going to do that other politicians, like we spoke before about Nancy Pelosi, who has $122 million net worth. She makes $223K a year, and she's 81 years old.
Yeah, and $120 million net worth.
Yeah.
Like, where did that even come from?
So Trump sees these things, and he says, this is an issue. I need to drain the swamp. Well, drain the swamp means get all these... Politicians are corrupt.
Yeah.
Like...
And I took drain the swamp as taking these elites out. So that would include anybody who has large control of large sectors, so like big pharma, big tech, and all that stuff like that.
And they all saw that, and they were like, no, Trump is bad. And then they came after him hard. And then the thing is, he also
made it easy.
He was the best person to come after hard.
Yeah. He made it easy. The thing is, he made it really easy for everybody to come at him hard and take his rhetoric out of context.
Yeah, and so that gets reflected in these numbers. But basically, here's what you have. So from his average approval rating from 2017 to 2021 is 41%. That's Democrats, Independents, Republicans. Now, his highest ran from January to May 2020. It was at 49%. And that was a really great time because if you remember... You felt it. You felt the shift that like people, the minority communities were starting to support him a lot, and then obviously COVID hit and it fell hard.
Yeah. Because
we were going into the primaries, and we were like, "There's no way he's going to lose."
Yeah.
The momentum was all there, and then 49% is very high, and then now we just said it fell to 34%. So COVID response, George Floyd, crime, riots, all that stuff. Trump took a huge hit.
That was like the back end of his presidency too.
Exactly.
So like it's like a recency bias. So whatever happens the most recently, that's when you'll have more weight than what's happened more so in the past.
Definitely, yeah. And I just have the ranges from the Republican over the 4 years. So Republican, the lowest it was approval was 77. The highest was 95%. Independents 30 to 47. So similar range. Like you had 18-point range.
Yeah, not too much of a shift, per se.
This is 17, and then Democrats from 3% to 14%. So, but it bounced all around. From month to month, he was going up and down. He was a very inconsistent president.
Yeah.
So approval rating-wise, obviously, popular in the Republican Party. This is the radicalization we talk about. Down to 3% in the Democratic Party, which is abysmal.
Huge.
That's horrible. Yeah.
Like we really support bipartisanship. Excuse me. And we always talk about whether, like when we had the whole video about Democrats passing bills, we always want bipartisanship in each bill, just so have both sides are spoken about and heard.
Yeah.
But 3% from one side, like that's a red flag in my opinion. Like if one side barely supports you, if any, like that should say something. That speaks louder.
And I wish I would have looked at what it was. Like when it was 95% on the right, what it was on the left. Like if it was 95 to 3,
that would have been insane.
Then that's a different story then, because that's just like pure polarization. That can even be like pettiness a little bit too. If it's like 95% of America likes it, but then 3%, like 3% of half of America doesn't.
Yeah.
Then, we talked about the media bias and how people are convinced. I think that the independent numbers mean more than anything. 30 to 47 is a pretty good range.
It usually comes out. I mean, I think every election comes down to the independents.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's why the numbers you were giving me before about how independent numbers dropped
for Biden.
That's very big.
Yeah, so that would hold more weight than the Republican approval rates of Biden rising.
Because even if they hate him, they're still going to vote for him.
Yeah,
the Republic. That's the way that's become in 2021. It never used to be like that, where if you hated a candidate, your party affiliation determined if you would vote for them.
Yeah,
that's the way it is now. You have anti-Trumpers on both sides and people who still voted for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are the poll numbers. He had a decent approval. It went back and forth, but 49 to 34. So big range.
Yeah, definitely. So then we'll just get into more the viewpoints. So what I wanted to talk about was the divisiveness that we've been talking about this whole podcast so far. And I wanted to say that Trump's 2020 election loss was more so I guess, what's the word for it? It's more like a rejection of Trump rather than a shift in Republican values or Republican Party values and policies. And like we said before, Trump did a decent... wow, my throat, I need some water. But I'll get it after. Did a decent job in terms of policy, which we've been saying for sure. But as a leader, he was absolutely abysmal. So he was horrible. And that's what really hits home, literally. So the way he was able to divide people really hit us really hard, and that actually shadowed or like made us not look at what he was doing outside the U.S. But unless you did your research, like especially you got into it really hard last year.
Yeah.
We really looked into when fake news, it was huge. The policies came in where if you really did your research, you knew what he did. But when having those conversations, people really didn't know.
They didn't know, and you see videos of like those funny videos where they go on the college campus and they say to the kids, "Oh, can you believe that Joe Biden did this? It's so great that he did this." And they're like, "Yeah, that's awesome." And they're like, "Actually, it was Donald Trump," and they're just like, "I didn't know that." But it's like we speak about now. When he came out and all the stuff he was talking about destroying the system, kind of, it sounds very like critical race theory, but destroying the system of corruptness, right, people were so far against him, and he made it so easy on them to be so hard against him, and that was what kind of covered up like all the good stuff he was doing because he was Donald Trump,
right?
So that's something we want to get away from moving forward. We want a president who's good on policy and has the support of the people, and as impossible as it seems, the right person can come along and do it.
Yeah, we always said like if they could just back America up like Trump did, but then his like talk like on like with JFK or like Obama. I think Obama's an absolute amazing speaker.
Oh, he's one of the best speakers
for sure
we've ever had.
If we had the combination of both, which is a weird combination because they're kind of opposites. But I mean, opposites. Best of both worlds. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and like I think that part of it was the media bias.
Yeah,
a lot of the way that Trump was painted out was the bias, but then a lot of it too is the kind of childish and immature mindset that he has, and his very absolutist. Donald Trump is one thing that I talk about is like when people dissent from him a little bit, he comes out against them very hard. It's like. It kind of feels like first grade where like your friend steps on your shoe and you're just like, you suck, I hate you. It's not like he came out against Mitch McConnell very, very hard. He came out against Kevin McCarthy very hard. We talked about Liz Cheney, who had her issues. She's an anti-Trumper, moved from leadership. And just recently, I think that the most amazing example of this is just today. You had a response from Donald Trump because they voted 9-0. The Supreme Court voted 9-0 in favor of Obamacare.
Right.
Now, the Obamacare case, it was brought up because 17 Republican states challenged the constitutionality of Obamacare. Now, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 because states don't have the jurisdiction to rule on the constitutionality of a bill, of a federal bill.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's why they ruled 9-0 against it. And also, what we speak about, there's no system to replace it, so you might as well leave it until you find something better. Yeah, I think that's common sense.
I think it's common sense as well. I just don't understand how you could present an argument without an alternative.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think that goes for anything. You can't just really argue something without having your own vision for something the way it should be, right?
That sounds liberal. Is Donald Trump a liberal?
Maybe he's like reverse.
Yeah, like he's fooled himself. Like an argument without a counter argument. And the thing Trump said that, I advocated so hard for Kavanaugh and Barrett, and they voted for this bill. It's like, all right, buddy. Like, they voted for the bill because it was the right thing to do. They are great justices that you appointed. They are literally the only reason that America's fabric is still held together is the Supreme Court. Yeah. And he comes out against them. This is like that immature type of mindset that's just like when he tried to destroy the filibuster too. It's just like, you also can't do that.
You can't
stuff.
do that. And so going into the whole like I think the main thing or the main theme that we're talking about is divisiveness. That's really the main point that we want to bring home and say like that's the main reason why he'd be horrible again in 2024. So not only did he bring divisiveness to the citizens of the nation, but also within the Republican Party, which will pose many problems, especially running in the future. And then I feel like not all Republicans support him fully. Right? Yeah. But things that they will do so. That was me, my bad. Oh, they will do so.
The table is going to fucking collapse.
No.
Like, oh, damn it.
Just waiting for it to happen. But they do so in fear of being ostracized.
Oh, definitely.
And that's actually, in a way, the right side's way of cancel culture, in a way. Yeah. And that's actually what I've seen. I mean, I'm not supporting Liz Cheney. And, she's had her own faults or whatever. But she was ostracized because, she didn't support Trump. Yeah. And that's why she's kicked out.
And the thing with Cheney was, and she was ostracized because she didn't support Trump, but she was also very publicly anti-Trump. And this was not what the Republican Party needed to focus on at the time.
Right.
And they removed her from leadership. But yeah, it is true that she became mainstream news because she was anti-Trump in the Republican Party. And you think about like the debate stage, you had Chris Christie, you had Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul. These are all guys who are senators now besides Chris Christie. He was the governor of New Jersey. And you hear the stuff they were saying to Trump then. And Jeb Bush. You hear the stuff they were saying to Trump then, and to think that now they support him, it kind of makes you think. It's like, do they really support him? It's the same thing we say about Kamala Harris. She called Joe Biden a racist to his face on the and like that doesn't go away.
Right.
You gotta kind of watch what you say at the debate stage.
Yeah, your words don't go away at all. Everybody remembers.
And now it's gotten to the point where if you don't support Donald Trump, you're kicked out of the Republican Party.
Exactly.
Or, not kicked out, but you're ostracized.
Right. And so that goes to show like now like people are afraid to step up. Like that's not what we want. We want people to voice their opinion, especially within the party.
And that's the no, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna start talking to DeSantis, but I'm not gonna say it. It just comes out of me sometimes, you know.
I know.
But I mean, and now my argument is that I am a Trump fan. I think that he was a good president because of the policy, which I said before. And I want to go over some policy numbers to just show why I support him. Because then on the leadership side, I've been saying this. I got into politics not too long ago, and once I got into politics, I listened to Donald Trump speak, and I was like, "Is this how politics works?" And obviously, it's not. Politicians are actually very, very good speakers. It's because they have law degrees 9 times out of 10.
Right.
They're always very good speakers. Donald Trump is not. But just like some policy numbers, he was very good for the economy. The economy fell more than it's fallen, I think, since 2008, maybe more when there was more when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And Q3 last year, we had a 33% increase. Like the economy flew back. That's amazing.
Yeah.
33% increase in the 32% growth in a quarter.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
The economy grew under Obama for his last couple of years. It grew at a rate of 2.3%.
Yeah. So take those two and
yeah. But then Trump, it only grew at 2.5. But also we were on that curve because of the recession. So like we were seated and then it naturally started to increase. So like on that basis, the economy wasn't that much better than it was in Obama's last few years. But what he did with the coronavirus was remarkable.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously, like you talk corporate tax and stuff, he dropped the tax rate from 35% to 21%. What you want to get into is how his push against the big corporations and the elites actually backfired.
Yeah. So Trump's whole drain the swamp, and like I said, I took it as getting rid of the elites. So get rid of those high top positions and the billionaires, like billionaires that have made just so much money off coronavirus. So those type of people that run a lot of big parts of society, and have a lot of control over what we do and what we think.
Yeah.
And we've gone through over this in many of the videos that we've talked about. But through his rhetoric, he actually did the opposite because he created division, right? And once you create division within the nation, it's easier for these big elites, big corporations, companies to control the masses.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what big tech does. They control what you see, what you hear, and what you believe. Big pharma, they just feed you with all of these prescription pills because they monopolize the healthcare system. And that division is what really caused the rift. So now, who do you support? Like some people support big tech, so now there's a checklist. It goes back to the whole checklist,
We'll do a whole video on that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's the difference because like the natural way to destroy monopolies, you don't need federal trust busting to destroy it. You can just have communities coming together and just saying, we're going to not buy from this. That's the way the capitalistic system works. If we all came together and said that Amazon is a problem, let's just stop buying from them, Amazon will fall.
But it's so hypocritical because people are like, screw Amazon and stuff, but they just bought something off Amazon Prime yesterday.
Yeah, I never say
it's so annoying.
I think Jeff Bezos is doing a lot that he's starting to get into some stuff he shouldn't do, and I've receded from buying from Amazon as much. I don't really do it too much, but I think that they're a great company for their services, though.
No, they are. Yeah. Like it was a genius business model, and he built it from the ground up. And I'm not gonna take it away from him. It's just that now, as much as I hate government intervention, he's monopolizing almost every sector of consumerism. So
yeah.
That's where it gets scary, and that's where
laissez-faire economics doesn't really work anymore.
Exactly.
When it gets to that point.
Yeah.
So obviously economically he was good, but he did create that division. This is what it all comes down to. Policy-wise, he was good, but he did create that division. What do we have? Unemployment numbers. Unemployment was the lowest under Trump that it has
Yeah.
ever been. It dropped to 3.5% February last year, which is the
Yeah, it
lowest
was
it's been.
insane actually.
Minority unemployment was low, obviously. The thing he forgot to mention while he was running for president was that African American unemployment was low. He said it, but he didn't mention any statistics.
Yeah.
This is something that Trump did too on the debate stage. He had
He didn't focus on anything. He didn't focus on any of the good things he did. He focused on what everybody else did bad.
Let me ask you a question. You're a liberal, all right? So change your head. What intrigues you more? What catches you more? I am the least racist president since Abraham Lincoln, maybe even past him, or African unemployment is at 6%, the lowest it's ever been.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the latter, but
Because these were that was what he said on the debate stage.
yeah,
and this
but
is what he should have.
The former is just a stupid statement. Like, it's just like, why would you say that?
And the thing about Trump is that, and look, he did school choice, he did opportunity zones. There were things
That was the best. School choice is the best thing.
Exactly. Best policy he's had. There were things that specifically targeted the black community and to get them out of the systemic issues that they've been faced with. But also, your unemployment numbers are low for everybody. Right. So that unemployment statistic is not your most support. It's not the thing that's going to make people support you the most. But then that doesn't mean you don't mention it. It doesn't mean that your juxtaposition is least racist since Abraham Lincoln. Let me just not mention the actual statistics.
I was just watching the debates, and he didn't bring up anything really.
He
did well.
horrible.
But yeah, he didn't care to tell you or explain to you. I feel like he just walked up there. He's like expecting
biggest
to win.
economy ever, biggest economy, best growth.
But he was more
China's going to pay.
That first debate was a train wreck.
Yeah,
he just kept on like bullying by. I'm not saying you should be you should be able to defend yourself as a president for sure, and like because you're gonna go through many debates and many politicians like Biden, just had to have a conversation with Putin, right? But you don't come out and be like that aggressive for no reason, and just keeping. You know what I'm saying? Like it was really unnecessary. It made him look bad.
But here's the thing: it made his supporters happy, his hard supporters, not people like us.
Right.
But it made his supporters like, oh, he beat up Biden so good.
Yeah.
But then people who were looking at this thing and honestly, it was gonna take. No, I wasn't voting for Joe Biden. I'm not going to say it was going to take a lot. I wasn't voting for him. But that debate was a mess. It was a complete mess.
Right.
And he lost. He lost the debates because he was not a professional at all.
Right.
I mean, it was just like Joe Biden's a joke. Let me just bully him. And
he thought he was going to win the presidency like that.
Exactly. And what you needed to do was Joe Biden has had very skeptical policies in the past. He has said that segregation of schools, we just talked about school choice, which is the biggest thing. He said segregation of schools makes schools a racial jungle.
Yeah.
Like he said these things. Just say that. That's it. Just say he said that if we put black kids into white schools, then we're going to make a jungle. I have black unemployment down to 6%. Who's more racist? No. Abraham Lincoln pales in comparison to me. Like, come on, man.
Man. I don't know. It's like you have like a speech to say like the next day, like in like English class, and you just have nothing written down, so you bring a blank piece of paper and just write off top. Yeah.
You try to remember this stuff, but it just doesn't come out right. Yeah,
it's like me bringing the notes when I didn't sync it to my phone. Seriously, I've done that like 3 times. Crazy.
But I mean, on top of that, policy-wise, wages were up. 2008 wages were $21 per hour. At the end of his presidency, $29. So, and that's including inflation, but that's a big increase.
Yeah.
People were making money. Businesses were here. People were earning money. Poverty, 2010 was at 15%. 2020 was 10.5%.
Yeah.
Big decreases. This is just good policy. This is any politician with good policy makes this happen. The Democrat, moderate, independent, conservative, Republican, doesn't matter. Anyone with good policy does all this. This is the result of good. I'm not even gonna say conservatives, good legislation.
So yeah, I mean, obviously he did great economically, and right now I'm just thinking like the whole division that we had internally. I'm just trying to think like how, because especially in last summer it was exacerbated to the highest degree, racial divisions. Mm-hmm. And now I'm thinking throughout his presidency, how bad was it compared to that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely wasn't as bad from the last summer, but I'm trying to think.
Well, I have the decrease. I have 2015. I have 2012, 2015, 2021. So that's how I did it, kind of with the racial division statistics.
Wait, so explain that.
So basically, like race relations, I have in 2013. Race relations, 72% of white people said race relations were good in America. 66% of black people.
Yeah, you did mention that. Yeah.
Now, 2014 started to decline. So this was the last year of Obama's administration, going into the next year where the 2014 and then 2015 we started the presidential election for the next one. 2014 started to decline. And like one thing that Republican circles will speak about is that all this major division started under Obama, and then under Trump it got exacerbated like crazy. And I do believe that, because you had Obama coming out talking about systemic racism in America and talking about kind of these implicit biases and all this stuff, and BLM is founded in 2008 and all this different stuff. That those seeds started to get planted under Obama. Then Trump came in and he was the fertilizer, and not just any fertilizer, the fertilizer.
Yeah. And then another thing I want to bring up during his presidency, the thing is, the really unique thing about Trump is his supporters. It really wasn't anything else, to be honest, because his supporters really, I think, led the way for what type of presidency he would lead. And those supporters came about from his rhetoric.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like you realize during his presidency how many people were actually racist. Like that's been a huge thing. Like they came out the woodworks, and then you find out your neighbor was racist. Like that was a huge thing going on throughout his presidency.
Well, I mean, and one thing that like my dad spoke about when he came on, which was good, was that he talked about the generational shift. How like you definitely had public loud racists, and he's talking like 1940. Because after the war, he's talking about his great-grandfather, racist.
Right, yeah.
And now as generations by, he sees that and he's like, I don't want to do that. I'm not like that. And he's not racist.
Right.
And then you have, and obviously polarization, what it does is that people see that. They see their leaders like that, and they see the division that the media is creating. And like if you're a conservative, and we talk right back to the checklist, if you're a conservative and you're not going to look at the facts, you're not going to do your own research, you're going to just buy into that public opinion, then, I mean, at the top of the conservative checklist right now is racist. If you're just like stereotypically associating terms and traits with sides of the political parties, then racism goes right to the rightist.
Absolutely, yeah. And then that polarization makes you more comfortable to come out as being a racist person.
And that's the dangerous thing, because then, like, major critical race theory moment right here, if you're not racist, then you're told you're a racist enough, then you're just like, I mean, wow, am I racist? No, you're not. Don't buy into it. But then like you just keep on getting told, and then all of a sudden, wow, you do these things, you think these things that just aren't right.
Yeah, and then I also want to loop it back around, because those supporters of Trump are very, like, even to this day, because they're Trump supporters now, like they're like 2024, and are against the whole election thing and whatnot, but they're so hard, like, really supporting Trump to a point where they don't care about anybody else.
Yeah.
And that hurts the Republican Party and everybody who supports the Republican Party, because has a divide within the party itself.
It destroys democracy too.
Yeah.
Like we talked about Putin and political opposition the other day.
Like none.
Yeah, there's no political opposition.
Because he took them all out.
He poisons the people who run against it.
Yeah.
You run against me, I poison you. Like that's not what you want in America. That's not what you want in democracy. You want that debate stage full of people who have a chance at winning. That's kind of the whole thing that we do here. That's like what we do. But yeah, definitely. And unfortunately what it became was like, and this is true, that if you're a white supremacist, you are a Trump supporter. But just because you're a Trump supporter doesn't mean you're a white supremacist. And this was like what was painted out very quickly, and just like pushing these things down on people is just so dangerous. And just like a few more numbers, and then we'll get into all the racial division statistics, all the other division on why this is the case for why I think he was a good president, because I won't say he was bad. But I will say that he should not be in there again.
Yeah.
Just inflation numbers range from 1.26% to 2.44%. I think the average is 2.2 annually. So.
What, inflation?
Yeah, like per year.
I thought it was like 3.
Is it 3?
That's 3.1, no?
Okay, it might be.
I mean, you keep going. I'll just fact check it right now.
Yeah, so check it. But he was from 1.26 to 2.44. So if it is 3, he was actually below inflation standards.
Rate of inflation every year, right?
Yeah. And then, obviously, Biden has inflation up 5% on consumer goods, 6.6% on other sectors. In terms of border statistics, his biggest year was 977,000 apprehensions at the border.
Yeah.
Right now, we have 900,000. So people were not coming to America.
No, you're right, actually. U.S. inflation rate for 2019 was 1.81. A 0.63 decline from 2018. U.S. inflation rate for 2018 was 2.44. A 0.31 increase from 2017, and then 2017 was 2.13.
Yeah,
So it's around that range, actually.
Yeah, he was right in that range. Now Biden has kind of shot it up out of crazy because like there wasn't the supply and demand issue. Then there wasn't the funneling of money.
And speaking on that, the annual inflation rate for the United States is 5.0 for the 12 months ended May 2021.
That's huge.
After rising 4.2 previously. Wow.
It's double. Yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
We just had a tough border. I mean, those consumer prices we talk about now, how lumber's up 500%, chicken's up 80%, gas is up 15, 20. I don't know.
Gas is killing me, man.
Yeah.
That gas is really killing me.
Those numbers, they were not there.
Yeah.
Crime, obviously. Homicides across America are up 33%. Big cities, anywhere from 40 to 300%.
And assaults.
Militaristic support, too. Just like these, and foreign policy, too. There's respect. You had the Canadian pipeline. He was blocking the Russian pipeline. North Korea, peace in the Middle East. However you determine how he came about that, there was peace there. You had these different things that life was just, in terms of externally and in terms of like your wallet, life was better. But now what we get into is that how you were feeling for a lot of people was not as good. So let's get into that conversation.
I feel like more people judge how good a presidency based on how they feel, though.
Oh, 100%, yeah. That's how they vote now.
Yeah.
I think years ago when people were more into like reading and doing that research, it was a different story.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it like I was paying $2.17 for gas a year ago. You buy the highest grade.
Yeah.
You are hurting.
Yeah.
My
pockets are right
I buy silver and I'm hurting. You buy that gold. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm an idiot for buying a car like that too. So.
I mean, no, you're not. That car is beautiful.
Yeah.
But let's get into just those statistics I was going over before. So 2013 race relations, 72% of white people approve, 66% of black people. So high. That's really good.
Yeah.
Then you have 2020, it drops to white people. 46% of people are okay with the race relation. So that's a decrease of 26%.
Yeah.
And then you have African Americans down 30 to 36. Mm-hmm. So 30% decrease amongst African Americans and how they view race relations.
Yeah,
that is huge.
Like we said, it depends on the atmosphere and how people feel, and that really projects on like what their opinions are, especially when they vote.
And what you see now is that we can't survive like that. If America goes on like it is right now, we do not have a lot of time left.
I don't want to see the end to that. I want to reverse back from where we are.
To get back to where it was. And here's the thing: like race relations have always been higher than they are right now. Since the 1960s, it's always been higher. In the 1960s, I think the numbers are around the 50s.
Yeah.
So like, and this is the big thing about the media and the big thing about all this. Yeah, is that like, do you honestly believe that 1963 America is more racist than 2021 America?
And the thing is, though, people don't look at these numbers. People don't look at these numbers and actually do their research and like really see. Well, there's obviously a reason why we're here, especially compared to like 1963 numbers you just said. Like it wasn't as bad as it is right now, and we probably said this a million times throughout any of the videos. Social media has really created this atmosphere for us right now, and that's why we're seeing such racial tension. Yeah,
and then just like some other numbers, these are very interesting. Now takes a scale from very satisfied to very dissatisfied. Okay. So you have very just satisfied, dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. Okay. And these are just percentages. So 2012, very satisfied with race relations, 10%. Mm-hmm. Just satisfied, 41%. Dissatisfied, 26%. Very dissatisfied, 14%.
And
so this is good. This is 2012.
Okay.
This is good. So you really look at like those two middle numbers. So 41% of people are satisfied. 26% of people are dissatisfied, but only 14% are very dissatisfied.
Yeah.
And then 10% are very satisfied. So that's good. 2015, 6% are very satisfied. 24% are satisfied. 32% are dissatisfied. 30% are very dissatisfied.
What year is this?
That's 2015.
Wow.
So when we say it started under Obama, it did start under Obama.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, very dissatisfied grows 16%. Maybe the most significant, very satisfied, drops by a huge margin, 4% when it was 10 before. So it drops by a large percentage. Those middle numbers stay similar, but even satisfied drops by 17%.
Yeah, and I think 2014 and 2015 were the main years where media outlets really took social issues and made them political, and really projected it onto their audiences. And
to perfect, because now we look at it today. I'll kind of let you guess the last one. Don't do the math though, because then you'll know. Okay.
Okay.
Are you going to do the math?
No, I'm not gonna do that.
No, well, tell me, what do you think very dissatisfied is in 2021 with race relations?
2021,
Yeah.
very dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And it was 32, right?
It was 30 in 2015.
That's pretty high.
Yeah,
Now I think it's 42.
46%
Wow.
of people very dissatisfied with race relations.
That's ridiculous.
Very satisfied is 7, satisfied is 16, dissatisfied is 25. So you look at those who 71% of people express dissatisfaction with race relations.
Wow.
That's huge. And now this is the reason why, as good as you can say he was policy, he cannot be the president again in 2024.
No, absolutely not.
Because newsflash, those numbers can get even worse.
And also, as a side comment, like we're doing all these things to get people more aware and have these like trying to implement critical race theory and all that stuff like that. But like as you can see, the dissatisfaction has increased year by year.
Mm-hmm.
So with an increase of stuff like critical race theory, so does that show like it's not working?
I think that like the big, just feeding off of that, the big question that you go when you get these BLM and you get these Antifa who are just kind of like irrational, you ask them, you've done all this, you've implemented CRT and you've rioted and you've implemented mob rule. How much better off are we now than when you started?
Before it started.
Yeah,
and that's a good question to ask.
Based on these numbers, we have gotten far, far worse.
Yeah.
Than from when all this stuff, when the socialist shift started to begin.
Right.
So, and Donald Trump was a big, and the thing is, say Donald Trump was the factor, say he wasn't, whatever you want. The answer that everyone should say is that we need a leader to come and to stop this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and actually moving forward, something interesting would be to see maybe in like a year or so how those numbers react during Biden's presidency.
Yeah, and that's something we'll definitely do. I don't understand how people look at the past 4 years and say, oh, you need that leader to come and do that. Donald Trump's the guy. Don't understand it.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing because, in my opinion, those Trump supporters don't care.
They don't.
They really don't care.
How much do you think pettiness plays into it?
Well, yeah, pettiness does play into it, but I think it's more of a projection of what they believe themselves.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more...
I think that whole fan base, yeah, it's like a fan base, supporter base, doesn't even matter at this point, but the whole fan base is more like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I guess
they don't care.
I would split it into
about that.
A couple different factions. Like the people who support Trump because they're petty. Because like Donald Trump is Donald Trump. I hate you on the left. Donald Trump is let's go.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. That's
then there are people who a very small circle. People who want Trump in 2024 who do their own research and look at the other candidates and everything and say it would be a good idea for him to run again. But that circle exists.
But taking into account social and economic.
Oh yeah, the actual people who have done all the intellectual research into
and
this.
they're probably weighing more on economic side than social.
100%.
Because obviously you could see the effects of the social side.
Yeah, I think, and then there are people who just don't want him to run. And I think that the largest, I think that those two divisions between people who want to do it because they're just like kind of being immature about it, or they're just being like Donald Trump needs to run again. He lost in 20. He didn't lose in 2020. All this stuff. Then I think it's an even split between those people and people who want him to run actually because they want him to run. They like his policy that much. They think he's a good leader.
The way I view it is more so. I think the majority. So I'm not saying majority as in like 90%. I'm saying maybe like a little bit smaller though, but still the majority. I think just view Trump as he could do no wrong. That's what I view.
Which is insane.
Trump fans, yeah.
Which is insane because you can look at any day from his presidency and find something he did wrong.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
And he wasn't a politician. They were against him from the start. He was ruthless. He was mean to these politicians. When he sat them down, he would yell at Pelosi, yell at Schumer, and that was awesome to watch. Mm-hmm. But then again, that's not necessary because it created the division. Now we need someone who can implement those policies,
and have a rhetoric that could bring unity to the nation.
Exactly.
That's really what it comes down to.
And I mean, speaking of rhetoric, one of the reasons I don't want him to run again is because I cannot
listen to him. I can't stand listening to him.
My dad said something hilarious today. He said he has what was the word? He said he has a reservoir of like 20 words.
He's like a soundboard.
Yeah, exactly.
You just click a random. Yeah.
He has like a certain set of adjectives that he just cycles through. It's good, huge, great. I mean,
we just said good, huge, great in the same word just now. We're weird word soundboards. We know.
And that's the thing about politicians is when the people like, there's a sense that like when you put them up there, you want people who are not educated to have to think. I didn't understand what he just said. I need to go do some research and understand what he said because he's using big words. Donald Trump don't use big words.
And that just goes back to me saying those fans just don't even care what he says. They just love Trump so much that everything else they're blind to.
And you do see people like that, and it's crazy. This was never what American politics was supposed to be. Never.
And I think it should be, especially moving forward.
Like, if George Washington had people painting posters of him and putting it on the wall, he would have been like, how did George Washington speak? How did they used to? I don't know. I was going to do an accent, but I have no idea how they used to talk. But this is your politics were never supposed to be this dynamic in your life, not in America.
Yeah, and it's also sad that, like, people hated Trump so much that they voted for Biden type of thing. You know, like, not that they voted for Biden because of his policies. They voted for Biden because they hate Trump.
And that was why he won. Because it was the settle for Biden, anti-Trump whole kind of movement.
Yeah, I mean, there's a hashtag saying settle for Biden. It wasn't like support Biden. He has great policies. It was settle for Biden.
They
because
can't
Trump's,
even name
Trump's
his policies.
Trash. Yeah,
they couldn't name a single Biden policy.
That was it. Didn't matter at the end of the day. It wasn't part of the conversation.
Exactly. And I mean, people from the right, like, I make the argument that conservative people are the ones who are more rational and who want to have that conversation, that public discourse, which is a biased opinion.
Yeah.
People from the left intelligent people from the left will obviously rebuke that, but I think that's the truth. If you're going to be that intelligent conservative, you have to look at the fact that Joe Biden won the presidency because people hate Donald Trump, and then can you really settle with the idea that, okay, let's have Trump run again?
Yeah, and I want to say, I don't think Trump supporters are part of that rational group and do their research. I really don't think so. Because you can't sit here and look at those 4 years and then now and really say that he's good for our country.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I think he is, but overall, I think you look at what's going on now, and you say, all right, I mean, we need an endorsed Trump candidate who listens to both sides and who has good policies that are going to get America first again, but hey, we need someone who's going to bring this whole nation back together. We need like a George Washington, Abraham Lincoln type of president who's really going to.
Yeah, we need like a real revival, because if we go down the same track and people are selling for candidates and people are not doing their own research in terms of policies, we're going to go down a really dark path.
Now, I have a question for you. Because like when they rate, like you do presidential ratings, you have S, A, B, C, D, F, right?
S, A, B, C.
So,
but S is, I know. Yes, I know.
And usually S is Abraham Lincoln, George Washington.
Yeah.
And no one else gets S.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone else gets S?
You think... what would you rate JFK?
A. Definitely A.
Yeah, he's more A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think A is JFK, Reagan. Those guys are A presidents.
Okay.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson.
What would you say average? What letter would that be?
C.
C?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where'd you put Trump?
I think I'd give him a C.
I'm in between B and C.
B and C, right?
Yeah.
You could give like C plus. And people do that. B minus, C plus.
Yeah, I would give him a B minus. Honestly.
I maybe like give C plus.
And maybe. The crazy thing is that he is, in the public opinion, he's either an S or an F.
What's F? F is above S?
No, F is the worst.
Oh, F. Oh, yeah, I'm like,
F.
why? Where's F come? Oh, okay. F is the worst. Yeah.
And like a lot of people think he's an S. A lot of people say he's an F, which is insane.
It doesn't even make any sense.
Close. As a conservative who's modest, who enjoyed his presidency, think he did great things, he's a B minus at best.
Yeah.
So,
definitely agree.
I mean, we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, we definitely talked for a long time. So, but this is like important, because especially moving forward. You have to think more, because I think the last election was a disaster in every single aspect. The most division we've had in a while. As it says in the ratings, people didn't care about. I think people didn't care about policies at all whatsoever, in the slightest. People couldn't name Trump's policies or Biden's policies on both sides.
Yeah,
and I think that's a huge problem moving forward too.
That's definitely true, because just like we say, a lot of Trump supporters. I mean, I think more of those hardcore Trump supporters could name his policies, or some of them at least, than the hardcore Biden supporters. Like, I think that overall, because Trump policies are just like, people think that Trump policies are some crazy like creation. A lot of them were just like Republican Reaganomics conservative policies. He did great with foreign policy. I think that was his best.
I think his best was foreign
policy was his best, and that was a new thing that he did. But a lot of those conservative policies, that was just like Reaganomics recycled.
Yeah,
like maybe minus the immigration policy.
Yeah.
So you don't need to think that if we don't get Donald Trump in 2024 that you're going to get someone horrible. Like I think that's a horrible mindset.
Yeah.
But yeah, the numbers show you have 7% of people who are very satisfied with race relations and 46% of people who aren't. These are people from the right, the left, white, black, yellow, green. I mean, half the country thinks that we are racist. And like you say, that stuff starts to settle in. people start to actually think like that, get convinced they're racist. And we talk about it with kids, how dangerous it is when you do that with kids. But adults, they're susceptible to it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were different people politically a year ago too. You know, if you really look at it, I mean, especially you.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't into politics at all.
Yeah.
And then this gets you. One thing that Trump did, he brought the vote out. You can't say he didn't bring the vote out.
Yeah, because it was like a hot topic. Like people got more involved.
Yeah.
With politics for sure.
And I mean, obviously, someone like me, it became contagious. But then a lot of people just kind of like jumped in, and then that's when the checklist set in.
Yeah.
Because they jumped in, but they didn't jump all the way in.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, hey, you're a white person, you're a racist, and you hate vegans.
That's actually so funny because when you said green like 2 seconds ago, I was like vegans too. That's funny. Yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty much it. We'll come back with a video. We got people that from the left and the right that we want to see run in 2024. I think Trump will run. I don't think he should win. Do you think he's going to run?
Oh, it's like 99% sure.
Yeah,
he'll run. Yeah.
He's basically said he's going to.
Yeah, he basically. I mean, there's no way he's not going to run.
He doesn't have my vote.
No, he does not have mine either.
Okay, so we will come back to you guys soon.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this very long video.
Yeah.
I'm sure you leftists are smiling a little bit, right? Just a little bit?
A little bit.
No? Okay. Well, we'll get you next time, right?
Yeah.
So, peace out, people.
Peace.